Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Football Palestine Extra, recapping everything that happened this week, a international break. So we have two games to catch up on, a lot of things happening tangentially. And is anybody sad when the international break comes to an end? I know I am. Had a lot of fun watching the games, not just Palestine's games, but games in World Cup qualifying all over the world. Congratulations to the teams that have qualified. Good luck to those that are still in it, and hard luck to those who have been eliminated, save but one team in particular. So, yeah, let's actually start off with a little interesting story, a tidbit. And this is the type of information I like to give followers of Football Palestine. So if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. And if you can, consider taking out a paid subscription because it takes a lot of work to kind of tease out this information. But what we saw last night was Qatar became the seventh Asian nation to qualify for the World Cup. It's their first World Cup qualification on merit. And one of the storylines was they changed the goalkeeper. We are all familiar with Mishal Bersham. He was the starting goalkeeper at the 2019 Asian Cup, at the last Asian Cup, hosted in January 2024, mainstay of the Qatari national team. But when they took to the pitch against Oman, they had a new guy, Mahmoud Abu Neda. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, but Mahmoud Abu Neda is a Palestinian guy born in Qatar. And he's got links to the contingent of players that are based in Qatar right now. So when he was kind of a nobody, I mean, nobody knew him last season, he went out of his way to welcome the Palestinian players that came to play in the Qatari League, reached out to them, invited them out, made them feel at home, put them in contact with things that they needed, really went above and beyond to help the national team players that went that went to Qatar to play. I know for a fact that Rami Hamada has a really good relationship with him, is very close with him, and he was probably the happiest person to see him get this opportunity. It was really unexpected to see Mahmoud Abu Nada start in goal. Kept a clean sheet against Oman, kept a clean sheet all the way up until the end there with UAE, until they got to go back after Qatar went a man down. And now, well, we'll have a team with a very strong Palestinian link in Mahmoud Abu Nada. Obviously, there are some Jordanian players as well from Palestinian origin, but things to look out for at the finals. And congratulations to Mahmoud Abu Nada for helping Qatar over the line. Obviously, what we're going to talk about in this video is not what other teams did, but what Palestine did this international break. As many of you know, our World Cup journey ended in June. A little bit difficult to watch round 4 of Asian World Cup qualifying, especially that group that consisted of Oman, Qatar, UAE, knowing that you probably would have fancied your chances of getting at least second place in that group. But that's life, and maybe it was meant to end the way it ended, with that controversial penalty call by Maoud Bonyadifard with 30 seconds to go in the game. Very interesting that the referee that was picked to kind of officiate the only match that had something writing on it on match day 10, or one of the few, I should say, was not selected for any of these games in round 4. It's almost as if he's not a good quality referee, but we'll leave that aside. Obviously, what Palestine is looking forward to right now is qualifying for the 2025 FIFA Arab Cup. And how did they do that? Well, they've got to win a play-in game against Libya on November 25th or 26th. They haven't actually announced the date for that game as of yet. And that means the friendlies that are being played now are super important to figure some things out and to kind of determine which players are going to be ready to help the team, not just at the Arab Cup potentially, but also going forward to 2027. And, if I were to give a rating to the coaching staff since World Cup qualifying ended, it would be hard to do so. It's kind of an incomplete. We don't really know. I think we know a little bit more now after these games against Algeria. But even if we look back to September, that game, it didn't end in controversy, but a couple of weeks later, it came out that, oh yeah, there's about half a dozen players that you played against that aren't actually Malaysian. They're not eligible to represent the national team, including Joao Figueiredo. And because Joao Figueiredo and his friends were not actually Malaysian, that loss that a lot of people were concerned about and the performance that was considered has to be taken with a huge grain of salt, because actually it wasn't really the real Malaysia. Although it's a friendly, you do have to think that, a couple points here and there going forward, when you're waiting for the draw to be made for an Asian Cup finals, for the World Cup qualifying process, a couple of points could be the difference of you being in pot 2 or pot 3. And that could make the difference between you having a manageable group and you having a very, very tough group. So Palestine should get those points back. The learning we had in September was, I don't know if this team can play if they get pressed, right? We really, really struggled with Malaysia's press throughout the game, throughout the 90 minutes. And against Algeria, for those of you that missed it, two matches played, one on Thursday, one on Monday. The game on Thursday left a lot to be desired. Palestine lost 3-0. They were down 3-0 after 30-odd minutes. And then on Monday, they sort of corrected things, got a first-half goal from Zayed Khunbar, and saw out the match won by a score of 1-0. So what do we think of the team's performance in Algeria, in Annaba this past week? And again, we are sort of left with, well, what does this really mean? And I think one of the first things to kind of point out is that this is the Algeria first side. This is Algeria's local side that has been bolstered with 12 players playing abroad that are sort of fringe players, not quite good enough to get into the first team just yet. But we have to also recognize that Algeria are the defending FIFA Arab Cup champions. They won that tournament with a squad that had a very similar makeup. More established first-team players participated in that last victory, but I do think Algeria now is in a different place. It's a less established team. They're still figuring stuff out. They're changing the generations. And I truly think that you could see some of the players that played against Palestine at a FIFA World Cup finals in, just under 8 months' time, or if not then maybe at the next African Cup of Nations, which is due to take place in 2028. So it's a good sign. So I won't have anybody kind of besmirch the quality of the opposition. It just doesn't happen to be Algeria. And because it's not Algeria's first team, and because Algeria is actually playing games in this window, it means that this match is kind of a free hit. It does not count towards the FIFA rankings and all that noise. So we can just kind of look at what the team did individually. And the big storyline coming in here was that Palestine was missing players. They were missing a lot of players. And we also have to take that into consideration. And I think, I sort of spoke about what the team did in the first match, which was bad. We have to recognize that it was bad. And it wasn't so much the result, it was the play. And it, you can accept individual mistakes, especially from a guy like Ehab Abu Jazar, who it's his first real test with the first team. Ditto Abid Yassine, who I think did an okay job. Defense let him down. Yeah, you also have to consider the fact that you're missing all these starters, but it was really concerning that we didn't really generate a lot of offense, right? The goalkeeper was on vacation, and it didn't really improve all that much in the second half either. So you're sort of looking at that, and the alarm bells are sounding off, right? You're thinking, do we need to make an emergency coaching change here? What's going on? We're not looking at any solid patterns of play. We're not looking at a team that knows how to position themselves defensively so that they can sort of direct traffic when they don't have the ball. And it was just a really, really, really poor performance. They deserve to lose that match 3-0. No question about it whatsoever. And then, you fast forward to the game on Monday, and things did improve. Defensively, things did improve. And a lot of detractors were going to say, well, Majid Bouguera changed his team. He made 10 changes to that team. And that is 100% true. He did make changes. But like I said, I don't think Majid Bouguera knows who his best 11 are in this setup, right? Because he had a completely different squad at the African Nations Championship, the championship for local players. He could only use his local players. Now what he's going to try and do is fuse some of his best local players with some of this fringe talent that can be available to him at the FIFA Arab Cup to create a new team. So of course he was going to tinker with the squad again. Now that said, Rayyan Kolli, who started this match and came on as a substitute in the first match, was amazing. Best player by far. And when Algeria went down in the second half, they threw on a lot of the faces that we saw in the first game to try and rescue that result. And Palestine stood firm. Now, at the same time, we also have to be realistic, and we have to give, I think, the coaching staff their due in that, okay, you put Rami Hamadi back in goal, there's an undisputed starter, but your entire backline is a second choice backline. Hamid Salafta, we didn't even know that he could play right back. Really, we'd never seen that with the national team. Yasser Hamad, at best, third choice for Palestine. Ali Rabi, I guess now the new fourth choice center back, but barely played for the national team before, as we mentioned. Waji Nabhan is the backup left back to Ahmed Taha. Ahmed Taha was played in attack because we didn't have any wingers for a multitude of reasons. Injuries, and I think also an agreement between Palestine and Shamal to load manage Milad Termanini and Tamer Siam. So they weren't even in the squad. They weren't even on the bench. So that meant you had to kind of make do with the pieces that you had. In midfield, okay, yes, Hamid Hamdan, Adel Kharoub are guys that you could see starting important matches for Palestine. Mustafa Zidane is a guy that we know now has that quality, but had only 5 games for Palestine under his belt. Like him and